All right, what's up, everybody? I'm gonna put music in the video today, so just be aware you're not hearing your own music. So yeah, let's go over the ES chart review for today. Today was 2/13, Valentine's Day tomorrow. So Valentine's Day and another important day, and that is CPI Day. All right. So usually on, a day with big news, or the day before a day with big news, you're sort of expecting things to be a little weird, but everything went it was pretty predictable today, to be honest. So we'll jump in a little bit. First, I want to go over sort of the bias leading into the day. And there's a couple things I want to show. All right, I've been showing this for about a week now, I think. But here's the first thing. All right, this run up that we had starting the 31st of January all the way up to Thursday, the 2nd of February. I think you guys will remember that. That's where we cleared a big equal high here, big liquidity pool, and started a downtrend a little bit, but we had very rhythmic chopping downward action. And I was targeting this area here from our golden fib. If you want more information about the golden fib, please check out the Discord. We have all these videos favorited, so you can check it out. So yeah, I was looking at this area here, and specifically on the 4-hour chart, I had this fair value gap picked out. The only reason is because it was in that golden area, and it had a very, it's like the bodies here, the wicks not so much, but the bodies were flat, right? So the guess there is that, and we had another one here, but I wasn't as concerned about it, even though I think we did. Yeah, I just dipped a little toe in, right? So that was the main target that I had for retracement and potentially a move up on the daily and weekly for the rest of February to potentially come back. We'll go back to the daily, potentially make a run at this long-term high here, and that run would actually, if we broke that, that would signal an end to the bear market, which I think is coming. But there are things that can happen that will change that. Now, I wasn't huge on how this consolidation happened since we went up first. I would have preferred a stronger pullback down to launch, but yeah, we had some funky gaps and stuff. But anyway, this is what I was pointing out for a while. And one thing I want to show, let's get rid of this golden zone. We'll put a fib on this, and this fib I want to be just the CE, the 50% line. Okay. And then another fib on this wick. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see this. All right. It's pretty clear, right? So what did this retracement do? It came back, it went into the gap and pulled back up on last Friday. Okay. Body respected the gap. Sorry, this is a 4-hour. I was like, thinking it was the daily for a second. This 4-hour period respected the gap. This next period went all the way down, tapped the CE of this wick, shot back up, and actually came up even higher than where it opened, turned into a green candle. And once again, body respected the gap, stayed out. And then we had one more dip into that gap and push up. All right. So I didn't really notice that until I was looking at the chart yesterday with the open. And I saw that and thought, okay, that is, we're heading up, right? That to me is like a liquidity sweep, and we're going back up. Another thing that I was looking at was the overnight. Sorry, I think it was the 5 minute. That was the clear picture here. So opening Sunday, right? We had this red candle on the 5 minute. That red candle, what did it do? It opened actually way up here above all of this huge pool of liquidity. It tried pushing more, came to this order block and went down. All right. Took this liquidity down here, created some gaps along the way, but the important thing were the gaps right here. All right. This gap right here was something I was looking at. And when I saw this happen late last night, and then we opened another gap. There's another gap somewhere. Was it this one? No, that's not the one I really cared about. Give me 1 second. Sorry. There's a couple things to look at, right? So there's a gap here. You could draw that over, right? There's a gap here that opened up. And that's a pretty clear picture that an upward run is coming. Now, I didn't know how long to trust it, but as you see, London, where's London open? London opens right here, grabs high, but just keeps going up. And then you can see it continued on. For today's session, so my bias was pretty set last night. I thought we'd have a green, at least overnight session. And then at 9:30, I was waiting for the initial move. And you can see it here, but it was very clear on the 15 minute. Let's delete these ones. It was very clear on the 15 minute. And one thing you always want to make sure you have is 8:30 price. So 8:30 price was right there. All right. Let's mark that. And what did we do straight away at 9:30? Well, it opened below, first off. So that's a good sign. But straight away, it went and grabbed some lows right there, right? So that was a great indication. If you go to the 5 minute, it was a little more complex. So 9:30, we opened here. It actually went down, and for a minute, I thought it went up and went down and came back into equilibrium a little bit. And for a minute, I thought that it was going to go for highs first. But then when this candle came in and swept those lows, I knew for sure the move was up, right? We had some points of interest over here to hit. Let me go back to the 15 minute. Actually, let me go to the 1 hour. Sorry, jumping around on time frames a lot. But the thing you want to look for when you're looking for potential spots for it to reach to, we got our golden fib, right? So there's the golden fib. That was my main area that I was looking for. And if we come back to the 15 minute, we want to see what does that translate to. And actually this, there's this gap here, but I wasn't huge on that. I didn't really like how that aligned with the golden fib, but the 5 minute had a much better gap that I liked. And I believe it was this one right here. All right. So if we take this one, got a 5 minute gap, and we got a hold on one sec. Let me zoom in there. It's really hard to tell with that candle because it's like a super doji, right? And yeah, anyway, let's take the golden fib off. We already know what we're looking at. We're gonna put another fib on here, and this is not gonna be the golden fib, this is gonna be the CE. So we want to see the middle point there, and then we go all the way over. Okay, our 9:30 run starts. Oops. And draw this box over here. 9:30 run kicks off. Let me make sure we've got another. There's more potential here. Sorry, I need to journal this a little better. There's two gaps here, Which one was more significant? No, the top one is the one. So it can get tricky to figure out which one makes sense, but I try to go with the golden fib, and I try to go with, stuff that stacks up a little bit too. So with this 5 minute gap, we're also within the order block here. So I think that's a really good target. It's in the golden fib. You see here that if you would have targeted that, right, from this move, which was clear that it was going to go for upside, it would have hit it before lunch, and that would have been, let's say you target the CE 4136.25 and you get in, let's not give you a perfect entry, but low is 4101, let's say 4102, something like that, to 4136.25. Yeah, that's pretty significant, right? 34 handles. So just think about that. Make sure you have your bias, and then make sure you watch for the tip of the hat, right? Which this is. You see this a lot at 9:30. You want to look at 8:30 price, and you want to look at the first liquidity it goes for. The first liquidity it goes for is generally the opposite of the move that it's going to make in the first session. So once it did this, that was my big target for the day, 4136.25. I was sort of looking for a retrace a little bit, just being CPI or pre-CPI day. I thought it would chill out and just sort of not necessarily doji, but not make a big bodied daily candle. But when we sort of piddled around here, like this is the end of lunch, and what I would have liked to have seen is somewhere 1 to 130. If this move, actually, I thought this 130 candle going for a high of the day, I thought, okay, that could be the catalyst for a strong move down. And I would have liked to see a strong move down to get to a retrace and sort of balance out. When it didn't do that, and it did make a move, but it was so late, 230, right? We're at 230 right here, just getting back into the gap. So bounce off CE, right? We strongly push through, bounce off, right? Push through again, pretty strong, but this candle, first off, we're at 230. Remember, time is important. It's at 2:30. It doesn't have much time to do too much more, right? Push through, come back up, come back down. This is like a consolidation pattern, right? And it never broke. Like breaking this low, okay, you could take that as a shift, but then this not creating a gap, like it closed it up immediately. That was concerning, that the retracement wouldn't happen, and then it chopping a lot and never breaking this completely, just wicking through. That's where I thought we would be going long for the last move of the day, and it did. So yeah, it was a pretty nice setup for an end of the day run, and it ended up taking highs. It took its time getting there, but ended up making that run, so that was really nice to see. But you know, there were plenty of entries. I think I've talked enough about today. Let's talk about what we want to see for tomorrow. So tomorrow is CPI day. Okay. And let's look at the daily. And what I want to do to try to get my bias. So actually, let's just remove all drawings. To try to get my bias, there's a couple of things I want to do. I want to see, did we hit some major point where a reversal would make sense? Or, you know, does it make sense to keep a gap open here? We did come into the golden fib retracement here. So I have a little bit of bias that we're going to bounce pretty well off that. Now, if we look at the 4 hour, we've done these little consolidations, but it's a little bit of a downtrend, right? Until we've gotten here. That was our gap. Our golden fib retrace. My bias would be a retrace from here and power through. I believe that's what I would want to see. The question would be, what kind of retrace would we want to see? So there's this, right? There's this gap. Oh, sorry. Template. Oh, man. 4 hour gap. Okay. We've got, what's that? That's the C of a wick. Almost hit that, but didn't. Interesting. Another thing to look for is, of course, the golden fib, right? Oh, sorry. Wrong way. We got to that. And actually, that was a mistake putting that up. But it is interesting that we passed the golden fib area. Now, did we here? No, we didn't. So you could say that this is the full range. You could also say that this is actually the full range, right? And we didn't even get to the golden fib area. But the question is, does that make sense to look for a golden fib retracement based on this range? I don't think so. Let's draw out some gaps, because I think these matter. So we have a 4-hour gap here. Played around, came back out. Not sure if that one matters as much. Let's look at this 4-hour gap. Sorry, this is not prepared, but I think, you know, I'd like to give you guys a little bit of insight of the things I'm looking at and trying to figure out when I first look at it, you know. And this is the first time I'm considering what my bias is going to be for tomorrow. So hopefully this helps you guys try to figure out what you want to look for. So we have that gap. I don't think that one's relevant anymore. We have this one, right? And then let's do the golden fib. We never did that. Let's do the golden fib. It's down here. You know, there's a gap there, sure. If we look at the 5-minute, what do we have? I mean, we have like a BPR. We could draw a gap. It's, I just don't think this is it, you know? I just don't think this is a retrace. Nothing is lining up super well. And, you know, I'm no expert, but for me to feel confident in an idea, like, things just sort of have to line up. And the way this lines up for me is more of a distribution type move off of the 4-hour from here. All right. That being said, let's drop into lower time frames and see if we can see anything here. Let's look back at that gold fib. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of better. I still don't believe it. We tapped on the gap here. That's a 4-hour gap. It's also basically a 1-hour gap. I'm going to draw out the 1-hour gap. When gaps line up like this, it's hard to tell. Like, it's hard for me to tell someone which one matters. I don't know. But I usually take the one that lines up a little better. You know, a lot of times you'll see that there's a 15-minute and a 5-minute that sort of line up. I've heard people say take the smaller one, right? Take the smaller gap. I don't know if that's a valid thing. I would have to backtest a little bit more, but it is a thing I've heard, so just be aware. Okay, so do you think we would go all the way down here if we were going to make a push up? And it's a real possibility. I mean, I really do think a real possibility would be a push up. Another thing I'm noticing here is there's like a BPR kind of style gap here, right? I don't know if that's technically a BPR. BPR standing for balanced price range. This definitely is, right? When you see a V like this is sort of kind of, but it's more of a drop off from the retracement from this move. So I don't know if that's really relevant. I'm not going to put it out there. But yeah, like I was saying, when you see like a V like this would be like a balanced price range. You could draw a box like that. And you see how the bodies pretty much line up with that, and it produces the move up. These are things you can do. Sometimes you'll have gaps on both sides. Anyway, getting into the weeds here a little bit. So the bias for tomorrow. It's really hard to tell. The overnight will show us a lot. So I would suggest, you know, if you do have a bias before the overnight session, go back and check it in the morning and see if anything's changed, because we could literally, like, it could run and just keep going and come down like really deep, take the lows, something crazy, and it could run up and take the highs. That would change the bias for sure, right? So just keep that in mind. Always revisit in the morning, reevaluate, and change your bias if something happened that invalidates it. At the moment, I believe this is my bias. That we are, because we've come up very high, and the move is very energetic. And I wasn't expecting it, but maybe I should have, since we dipped into that 4-hour gap. That was the golden retracement from this big move. I think we just come back and it shoots off. So we'll see. We have a balanced price range kind of sort of here, right? So this is something to look out for as well. I went down to the 15-minute. You can see if that reacts. Well, that's going to probably hit pretty soon. See how that reacts. See if that holds it up. Very well could. 15-minute, we have more gaps. I mean, this one's pretty nice too, right? We have an order block here. It's sort of a shitty order block, so I don't know if you really care about that. We have a gap here that sort of overlaps this 1 hour. I like the 1 hour. I want to see how it reacts. Once again, like a lot of these things, you're putting things out there that could potentially do something, right? And then you just need them on your chart so that you can see how it reacts. When price comes down into this gap, I don't just go buy, buy, buy. I'm going long. I go, okay, we're into the gap. Let's see how it reacts. If it hits this, creates some swing high, displaces through it, it creates a gap and comes back into it right at the CE and starts going up, there you go. Like, then you know that this gap was for the next push up, right? Like it was the reaction for the next push up. So that's all you're trying to do. For the retracements, how deep does something retrace overnight? It depends on the movement, right? This to me looks like, it honestly is like what does ICT call them? Propulsion block. It looks a little bit like a propulsion block push. It's pretty strong, you know? And we didn't take this big high, but order block, right? Within order block comes down into that. I believe that would qualify. I mean, like I always say, no expert. Is that an order block? I don't know. That's actually, I don't know if that is an order block, but anyway, that's going to be my bias for right now, is that we retrace into here and head up and prep for CPI day. It will be telling what happens overnight. I believe it should be. Just like this happening overnight, or when it opened on Sunday, it opening up here and then coming down and grabbing some liquidity and presenting a really nice entry for a long. That was very telling that we are going up. 9:30 was very telling that we are going up. 8:30, not as much, but sometimes it's also very telling. These are things you want to look out for. 3 o'clock, 3 a.m., London Open. It wasn't very telling this time. It's not always, but it's something to look out for. It could tip its hat and tell you which direction it's going. 9:30 for sure did today. All right. So I've been droning on for a long time here. But I wanted to throw in a little bit of prediction, a little bit of bias for tomorrow, since I feel like my analysis and predictions have been pretty okay lately, and it's got me feeling pretty confident. So if you have any questions, comments, corrections on stuff I've talked about, please feel free to join the Discord. The link is in the description as always. If you want to learn about these concepts, there is a link to ICT, Inner Circle Trader, in the description. It's always in the description. Go through his mentorship. That's exactly what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to, catalog, document my learning process, and hopefully get some people along the way that want to hang out and talk about what they found and what's worked for them and what to look out for. We got a couple people that are doing that, and I think it's been really, really great so far. So check out this gap. Isn't that nice? Interesting. Balanced price range? Maybe. These are things you want to look out for, though. Right? How did it react from that? It created a new entry condition? Yeah. Okay. I'm really going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Go do ICT's mentorship. He is amazing. Take advantage. Have a good night.